Hi, everybody. Welcome to another skill of the week. This one should also be very familiar to many of you, self-advocacy, which is somewhat related to resourcefulness. They are kind of hand in hand. So that's why I'm following up with self-advocacy this week after resourcefulness. Because we might know what we need and what's available to us, but how do we actually act upon that? So this self-advocacy is another domain in our study skills rubric. So self-advocacy, I want you to take a few minutes and try to think of what you already know about self-advocacy. So what are different examples of self-advocacy skills? And what do you believe are the important aspects of self-advocacy? What is self-advocacy made up of? So self-advocacy is really two things working together. The first being self-awareness. As you know, a common theme in our class this year has really been getting to know yourself as a learner. Know thyself. So self-awareness, understanding what your interests are, your strengths and your preferences, having some sense of your goals and your dream, giving you some direction, what your responsibilities are, some things that you need to take on as an individual, and what your abilities are. And then in turn, knowledge of areas of need. Like, this is something that I typically need support in. And then accommodation needs and support needs. So things that have helped you, this is when we talk about the last one, accommodation needs and support needs, this is really in relation specifically to school. But all of the above, self-awareness is in your personal life as well. So knowing these things about yourself, both personally and academically. Communication. So in addition to self-awareness, having that knowledge of yourself, you also need to be able to then communicate that somehow, using that information. So communication has to do with timeliness and being proactive, something that we talked about last week with resourcefulness, right? Not letting problems build up before they become really big problems. Using questioning. Asking questions is always important. Making sure that you understand then how to communicate that. So using your body language is one way of kind of showing up and communicating, as we know that with our words, but also our body communicates information as well. So how we show up and do that can make a big difference in the results that we get. Using technology, right? We don't always just have to ask questions face to face, although that is wonderful. Using technology to advocate is wonderful. And then in some instances, we may have to have a certain level of assertiveness, meaning that we're pretty sure of what we want. I can think of instances where I've had to call businesses that I'm dealing with. And I may have ordered something. I just had this happen recently. I'd ordered something for my house and they kept kind of pushing the delivery date on me, even though they had it in stock and I had paid for it. Finally, I was like, you told me this like 2 weeks ago that you'd have it here. I really need it to be delivered. And guess what? It was delivered this morning. So that's where I was using my self-advocacy skills and being a little assertive. So again, this communication, similar to self-awareness, is both academically and in your personal life. So self-advocacy skills is a skill that goes beyond just your life as a student. So why? Why is self-advocacy so important? So think about some of the things that I just mentioned. Why is self-advocacy such an important skill? So maybe your reasoning came up with some of the things like you see here. So it's really about becoming an adult. So as an adult, you should have say in what you do and in what you want for yourself and in where you're going. And being an adult requires you to use your voice. Using your voice can help you live independently, right? You can ask questions about how to get a lease for your rent or a mortgage. Communicating with these companies is really important when you're going through those processes. Being a strong self-advocate helps you do the things you like and pursuing your dreams because you are using your voice to tell other people what you want. It can help you get a job in the career field you want. You can communicate why things are important to you, what you know. It can also help you have healthy relationships. So communication obviously being so foundational to any relationship that you have, right? It's telling somebody what you want, what you don't want, what you like, what you don't like. Control over your own health and body. You sometimes need to advocate for yourself with medical professionals, asking questions, managing your own money, and getting services and supports you need. You might need to call and set up a account for any kind of gas, electric, anything like that when you're living independently. You might need to reach out to an office at a school, like a roster office or an office of disabilities or a writing center or the counseling office at any point. So getting the services and supports you need. So this is all about being independent, right? Being a self-advocate is really about building independence, even though sometimes it feels like, well, I'm asking for help. Well, these kind of things actually allow you to be independent because you're solving your own problems. The reality is we can't all solve our own problems all the time, right? We do need other people. So I want you to think for a moment. This is almost going to be a brainstorm for your skill of the week in action this week. So I want you to think for a few minutes. Jot down some thoughts you have about your own self-awareness and communication. Think about those things that we talked about. Jot down some ideas or thoughts you have about your own self-awareness and communication. So tapping into that, kind of like bringing it back to yourself. If you need to scroll back to the self-awareness screen or the communication screen on the video, I recommend that you do that so you can kind of go back to help think about those ideas. So jot down some thoughts you have about your own self-awareness and communication. This is no right or wrong, just kind of putting down some ideas. When you're done with this, we're going to move over to the skill of the week in action, which is going to be a discussion post this week. It's going to be a 2-part, so it's going to take place over this week and next week. I will have instructions for you over in that assignment.